Welcome. The Passive Sampling Technology Update team is proud to present an overview of the Beacon Passive Sampler technology. This quick video will provide a high-level overview of the device, as well as instructions on how to use, deploy, and retrieve the device. For more information on this and other passive sampling technologies, please visit the Passive Sampling Technology Update Guidance document. The Beacon Sampler is an accumulation-type passive sampler. It is a diffusive device, relying on molecular diffusion of chemicals from the surrounding media, through the diffusive barrier on the device, onto an adsorbent without the forced movement of air. The samplers yield a chemical mass that can be correlated with time-weighted average concentrations. The Beacon sampler consists of a glass vial that contains hydrophobic adsorbents that collect VOC vapors at a constant rate. There are three types of Beacon samplers: a soil gas sampler, an ambient air sampler, and the Beacon chlorosorber. The Beacon soil gas sampler and the Beacon air sampler are similar and consist of a glass vial, hydrophobic adsorbents that collect volatile organic compounds, or VOCs, at a constant rate, and a lid with a permeable membrane. For soil gas sampling, the sampler is equipped with a wire for suspension of the sampler within the boring. For air sampling, the glass vial is secured and protected by a plastic holding sleeve, equipped with a hook and suspension line. They are ideal for source zone characterization, lateral delineation of a contaminant plume, sewer gas sampling, and assessing if vapor intrusion is occurring. During an investigation, samplers are deployed for a designated period, typically ranging from days to weeks. Once retrieved and sent to the laboratory, the samplers are then analyzed by thermal desorption extraction from the sorbent, yielding a measurement of the sorbed mass of each chemical. The Beacon Passive Soil Gas Sampler can be used in paved areas or in unpaved areas. The deployment methods are similar, except for the capping of the sampling locations. The two figures on the left show a cross-section of the typical installation of the device in paved and unpaved areas. To deploy the Beacon PSG sampler, follow these steps. Before going out to install, the field personnel should verify the sampling kit provided includes all the necessary supplies. The field personnel should also make sure they have all the necessary drilling equipment and PPE. The field personnel must first drill a vertical boring using their preferred drilling method. Typically, the boring is 1.5 inches in diameter to a depth of 12 to 14 inches, then continue with a half-inch diameter down to the terminal depth of 36 inches. Once the boring is drilled, the field personnel will insert a 12-inch long piece of pipe so that it rests about a half-inch below grade. Before installing the sampler, the field personnel should replace the closed cap with the open cap, equipped with a permeable membrane. The solid cap is saved in the dedicated box for future use during the sampler retrieval. Each sampler comes with a wire wrapped around it. Prior installing the sampler, unwrap the wire so that one end remains secured to the sampler, and the other end is free. Next, the device is installed open end down, into the pipe so that it rests at the bottom of the pipe. The field personnel should hold the loose end of the wire as the sampler is lowered. Once in place, the loose end of the wire is wrapped around an aluminum foil ball, which is then used to plug the top end of the pipe. Next, the field personnel will cover the hole to grade with soil or a thin 1/4 inch concrete patch. Following installation, the samplers are deployed for a few days to weeks. Once the predetermined collection period is reached, field personnel should take the following steps to retrieve the samplers. First, the field personnel must remove the soil or thin concrete cap used to complete the hole to grade. If concrete was used, it should be able to be cracked with a small hammer. Once exposed, the field personnel will unplug the pipe and pull the sample out of the ground using the wire. Once retrieved, the wire is removed, and the sampler is wiped clean using a clean cloth rag or paper towel. Next, the open cap of the glass vial that has an opening is replaced with a closed cap, and the sampler vial is labeled with the sample location ID and returned to the Beacon sampling kit. For labeling, use a ballpoint pen. The field personnel should make sure they log all collected samples onto the chain of custody. Note that for field duplicates, Beacon can analyze the second pair of adsorbents for a sampler, meaning each sampler includes its own duplicate. When deploying and retrieving the beacon air sampler, follow these steps. Before deploying, ensure the necessary supplies are available to hang the device and complete the sampling. Cut a piece of string long enough to hang the air sampler at the desired height. Remove the air sampler from the sampling plastic bag and swap out the solid cap with the permeable cap. The solid cap is saved for future use during the sampler retrieval. Slide the air sampler vial into the beacon sampler holder all the way or until it clicks into place, with the open sampling cap facing out from the bottom of the holder. Secure the string or wire to the loop on the back of the holder, and suspend the device from the desired height with the sampling cap facing downward. Record the installation date and time. When the device is ready to be retrieved after the deployment time is achieved, remove the solid cap from the sampling bag. Unhook the sampler from its sampling location, and remove the sampler vial from the sampler holder. Remove the permeable cap and replace with the solid cap. Label and follow the shipping procedures for analysis at the laboratory. For collecting air samples for specific chlorinated solvents, Beacon also has a chlorosorber sampler. This sampler is ideal for targeting perchloroethylene, trichloroethylene, and their degradation products at trace concentrations. The chlorosorber consists of a 4-inch long stainless steel tube that holds an adsorbent designed for chlorinated solvents. The sampler is fixed with a compression fitting on one end and a diffusion cap on the other. A plastic loop is secured on top of the compression fitting to facilitate deployment of the sampler. Here are some things to keep in mind when deploying the chlorosorber. Similar to deploying any beacon sampler, check the kit to ensure that all the necessary supplies were included, and the sampling team has all needed supplies prior to mobilizing to the site. On the day of sample deployment, remove each sampler from its plastic sampling bag. The storage cap on the bottom of the stainless steel tube is then removed and replaced with a stainless steel diffusion cap. The storage cap is saved in the plastic bag for future use during retrieval. The top of the sampler is then inserted and pushed into the plastic loop fitting until it fully secured. Next, the sampler is secured to the predetermined location using string. You can also use wire or fishing line or a tripod. The device is deployed to predetermined sampling location. The samplers are then left to collect for an exposure period of several days to weeks. The desired exposure time should be determined prior to the sampling event. Once the exposure time is complete, field personnel collect the sampler by retrieving the device, remove the plastic loop fitting, replace the diffusion cap with the storage cap, and place the sampler into the plastic sampling bag, and label the sampling bag with location ID. Remember to use a ballpoint pen. The sampling date and time are then recorded on the COC, and the vial placed back in the kit, and are shipped to Beacon's laboratory for analysis. The samplers do not have to be kept cold for shipment and have a hold time of 30 days. Some of the advantages of the Beacon sampler include: the devices are easy to assemble, install, and retrieve. Can be used to detect a wide range of volatile target chemicals. The samplers reduce field sample errors due to minimal handling and equipment. No decontamination or leak test procedures are needed during sampling. The chlorosorber can achieve parts per trillion or nanograms per cubic meter concentrations. The Beacon family of samplers can provide lateral delineation of plumes, reducing mobilizations to the project. Some limitations of the Beacon samplers include: the detection limits are based on sampling duration, so extended deployments may be required. Samplers must be analyzed by manufacturer. The analytical data may not be accepted for final risk assessments in most states. Only 13 chlorinated and petroleum-related VOCs were tested as part of the uptake rate validation. Graham's law of gas diffusion is used to calculate the uptake rates for other VOCs. The samplers are not effective for vertical delineation in soil gas. Here are some takeaways about the Beacon samplers. They are an accumulation-type passive sampler for use in soil gas, indoor and outdoor air. The samplers can detect a wide range of volatile chemicals for site delineation, vapor intrusion assessments, and air monitoring. The devices are simple to assemble, install, and retrieve. The Beacon devices can also provide a reduction in field mobilizations when utilizing the sampler for plume delineation for projects. For more information on the beacon sampler and other passive sampling technologies, check out the ITRC Passive Sampling Update web guidance.